Okay, Hare Krishna. I want to make a video today. The title of the video is going to be do ISKCON devotees have any devotion? So first of all, I would like to read something here from Srila Prabhupada. This is from an evening lecture in Bhubaneswara in India, January the 23rd, 1977. It seems to be at the end of the lecture. Prabhupada's asked a question. The guest says, an Indian man says, without taking diksa from the Guru, also utters the name of Lord Krishna with devotion, and then Prabhupada interjects and says, there is no devotion unless you go to a Guru. Forget it. Adau, gurvasrayam. First business is to accept a bona fide Guru. Otherwise there is no devotion, it is simply false imitation. This is the injunction of Rupa Gosvami in the Bhakti-rasamrta sindhu. Adau, gurvasrayam. Your first business is to approach bona fide Guru and take his asraya. Otherwise there is no devotion. That has been the defect in the modern society. They imagine this business should be given up. He must follow Sadhu-marganugamanam, which is prescribed by the Sadhu Guru. You have to accept that. You cannot manufacture your own way. So Prabhupada clearly says here that there is no devotion unless you go to a Guru. Forget it. First business is to accept a bona fide Guru. Otherwise there is no devotion. It is simply false imitation. So this is a situation in ISKCON. The first business in spiritual life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. And as we know, the people who are in ISKCON who are posing as gurus, they are not gurus, they are not qualified, they are not authorized. They don't even have the qualities of a neophyte, they have the qualities of an envious man. So another thing here, let's look at this. This is interesting also. Mr. O'Grady, this is in a conversation with, I think he's an Irish poet, Mr. O'Grady. He asked, Prabhupada's been talking about the spiritual master and how we have to approach a spiritual master. And Prabhupada's saying how material life is like a blazing fire. And if we want to stop this blazing fire of material existence, we need the mercy of the Guru. The Guru is like a cloud who can send the rains to extinguish this blazing fire of material existence. So Mr. Grady says, the problem is to find the spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada says, that is not the problem. The problem is whether you are sincere. You have problems, but God is within your heart. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, Bhagavad Gita 1861. God is not far away. If you are sincere, God sends you a spiritual master. Therefore, God is also called Checha Guru, the spiritual master within the heart. God helps from within and from without. Everything is thus described in the Bhagavad Gita. This material body is like a machine, but within the heart is the soul, and with the soul is the super soul, Krishna, who gives directions. The Lord says, you wanted to do this? Now here is the chance. Go and do it. If you are sincere, you say, now God, I want you. Then he will give you directions. Yes, now you come and get me like this. This is his kindness. However, if we want something else, that is all right. We can have it. God is very kind. When I want something, he is in my heart, directing me and telling me how to have it. So why should he not give directions on how to have a spiritual master? First of all, we must again be eager to revive our God consciousness. Then God will give us a spiritual master. So, this is a very interesting topic. Prabhupada clearly says that to find a bona fide spiritual master, it's not difficult. It just depends on sincerity. If a person's very eager to again revive his relationship with the Lord, then Krishna in the heart as the Checha Guru will send to us the bona fide spiritual master, which is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, as I've pointed out in other videos, is still giving diksha. He's still the acharya, the initiating spiritual master. Initiation is not dependent on physical presence. Initiation is a process of revealing transcendental knowledge which vanquishes material contamination caused by sinful activity. Prabhupada is giving the diksha process. Now, anybody who's not aware of this fact, or anybody who's not in knowledge that Prabhupada is still the diksha guru and that he can take shelter of him, that's a sign that he's lacking sincerity. He's lacking sincerity. So if a person's lacking sincerity, then he won't have this simple basic knowledge revealed to him that Prabhupada is still the guru. He'll be bewildered. So if a person is bewildered and doesn't understand that Prabhupada is still the diksha guru and that one can take shelter of him, this is a sign that he has not enough eagerness to reawaken his relationship with the Lord, because there's no chance of reawakening one's relationship without a bona fide spiritual master. So if one doesn't understand this, that Prabhupada is still available as his guru, as a guru that one can take shelter of, this is a sign of insincerity. And if one hasn't understood this, then obviously one won't have taken proper shelter of Srila Prabhupada as his initiating spiritual master. And Prabhupada says that there is no question of any devotion unless one has taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada said, let me repeat this, I'll read it again. There is no devotion unless you go to a guru. Forget it. Adau, gurvasrayam. First business is to accept a bona fide guru, otherwise there is no devotion. It is simply false imitation. So this is what we have. ISKCON devotees are false imitations. They're not real devotees. They don't have devotion. Now, let's not be harsh. We have to see that things are not black and white. There are shades of grey. So the shades of grey are like this. I'll give myself as an example. I was attracted to ISKCON, to join ISKCON, on the basis of developing my attachment to Srila Prabhupada. So, before I even met any devotees in ISKCON, I received one of Prabhupada's books, I started reading it, and I immediately felt this faith in Prabhupada, and I started to develop my relationship by following his instructions in the book, started to chant 16 rounds, follow the regulative principles. I started to chant kirtan with Prabhupada. So in this way I developed my attachment and my relationship with Prabhupada. Then I joined ISKCON. I obviously joined ISKCON because I had some material desires. I had some ambition, some material ambition. Otherwise I would have avoided their association. So the point I'm driving at about the shades of grey is that there are many people who join ISKCON for different reasons. Those that join ISKCON on the basis of an attraction to Srila Prabhupada through reading his books, and that's another issue, that now people are not even getting Prabhupada's original books. But anyway, the point we're saying is if people join ISKCON on the basis of an attraction to Srila Prabhupada, they obviously have already started to develop their relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Now others join for different reasons. Some join because they're attracted to the kirtan, they're attracted to prasadam. There are various reasons, but the best reason that one would join ISKCON is because he had an attraction to Srila Prabhupada and his books and the message in his books, which is an attraction to Prabhupada himself. Prabhupada's message in him is non-different. So any attraction to Prabhupada's books and the philosophy is an attraction to Prabhupada himself. So those people obviously do have some devotion. But the point is, by association, one can lose that. One can lose that attachment to Prabhupada. And I'll read you something here which will elaborate on the point I'm trying to make here. This is from the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 18. Prabhupada is saying here, as attachment can be invoked by the association of pure devotees, so attachment can also be extinguished by offences committed at the lotus feet of pure devotees. To be more clear, by the association of pure devotees, attachment for Krishna can be aroused. But if one commits offences at the lotus feet of a devotee, one's shadow attachment or para attachment can be extinguished. This extinguishing is like the waning of the full moon, which gradually decreases and at last becomes dark. One should therefore be very careful while associating with pure devotees to guard against committing an offence at their lotus feet. Transcendental attachment, either shadow or para, can be nullified by different degrees of offences at the lotus feet of pure devotees. If the offence is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. This is a key point here. If the offence is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. And if the offence is not very serious, one's attachment can become second class or third class. So, what I want to talk about here is the fact that I'm making the point that some people join ISKCON trying to establish about, do ISKCON devotees have devotion? Now, yes, some people can join ISKCON and they will have devotion because they have an attachment to Srila Prabhupada. But once they become into the association of ISKCON, ISKCON is a society based on offences to Srila Prabhupada. That is undoubtedly true. Nobody can refute that. ISKCON have been involved, the leaders of ISKCON have been involved in trying to poison Prabhupada, trying to kill him. They've been involved in changing his message, his transcendental message. They've been involved in blaspheming his good name. So they have made grave, very serious offences to Srila Prabhupada. The whole society is based on offence to Prabhupada. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 21st chapter, text 26, we have this very interesting statement here. I don't know whether this is from the purport or it is the actual verse itself. I believe it's the actual verse, but either way, it's the verse or it's Prabhupada's purport on the verse. It says here, I'm pretty sure it's the actual verse. I request all the pure-hearted demigods, forefathers and saintly persons to support my proposal. For after death, the result of an action is equally shared by its doer, its director, and its supporter. Very interesting, very interesting. So, when we go to ISKCON and we associate with ISKCON, even if we're going there with this shadow attachment to Prabhupada, it's called para. Para means a shadow. We have some shadow attachment to Prabhupada. So when we join ISKCON, we have this attachment to Prabhupada. We have this devotion in a shadow form. Real devotion begins when we're actually liberated from the bodily concept and we can engage in devotional service. Real devotional service. That's when devotion really begins. But in this state that we're at, our devotion is more like a shadow attachment. So Prabhupada is saying that this shadow attachment, it can become, it says, if the offence is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. He gives the example of the moon, the waning moon, as it gradually, the light from it gradually fades and becomes nil. So in the same way, whatever attachment we have when we first contact Prabhupada in his Vani form and then we go to ISKCON, when we associate with ISKCON, which is a place of offences, then we are associating with these people who are offenders to Srila Prabhupada. We become a supporter. When we go to ISKCON, we naturally become a supporter. We have to become a supporter. We can't go in amongst ISKCON and associate with them and not become a supporter. We're supporting them by being there. We even support by not protesting against them. If there's a crime and we don't say anything and protest against it, that's a form of support. What to speak of actually being a member of ISKCON. or even visiting there. That's a video I'm going to make about associating with ISKCON. I'm going to make another video about that. But the point I want to stick on my track here, the point I'm trying to make is that we become a supporter. The minute we become a member of ISKCON, or we associate with ISKCON in any way, shape or form, we immediately become a supporter. And when we become a supporter, then it says here, after death, the result of an action is equally shared by its doer, its director, and its supporter. So the result of the actions of Tamil Krishna and all these other envious Jews who are running ISKCON, past and present, their reactions are heavy. I'll give you an example of some of their actions, but let me just finish the point. So their offences that these guys have made, when we go there, we're going to equally share the reaction of their offences to Prabhupada. And because of those offences that they've committed, and because we support them, we equally share in that, and that means that our attachment to Prabhupada will wane and become nil. So that will answer the question in my of the title of my video. Do ISKCON devotees have devotion? No, they don't, because even if they start off with some devotion when they join the movement, their devotion will become nil by associating with these offenders, because they become supporters, and by becoming supporters, they're becoming offenders also. And when they become offenders, then they become their shadow attachment to Prabhupada. The shadow devotion becomes vanquished to nil. Okay, let me just share some of these offences, the reactions of these offences to Prabhupada. Okay. So there's one here. If the man who blasphemes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is killed, his sinful action may be atoned. A second. Purport. The Hari Bhakti Vilas cites the following quotation from Skanda Purana concerning the blaspheming of a Vaishnava. Okay, so I'll continue. In this conversation between Markandeya and Bhagirath, it is said, "My dear king, if one derides an exalted devotee, he loses the results of his pious activities, his opulence, his reputation, and his sons. Vaishnavas are all great souls. Whoever blasphemes them falls down to the hell known as Maharorava. He is also accompanied by his forefathers. Whoever kills or blasphemes a Vaishnava, and whoever is envious of a Vaishnava or angry with him, or whoever does not offer him obeisances or feel joy upon seeing a Vaishnava, certainly falls down into a hellish condition." So that was one. Another. The Hari Bhakti Vilas 10.3.14 also gives the following quotation from Dwaraka Mahatmya. In a conversation between Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, it is said, "Those sinful people who blaspheme Vaishnavas, who are all great souls, are subjected very severely to the punishment offered by Yamaraj." In the Bhakti Sandarbha 3.13, there is a statement concerning the blaspheming of Lord Vishnu. One who criticizes Lord Vishnu and his devotees loses all the benefits accrued in 100 pious births. Such a person rots in the Kumbhi Parka hell and is bitten by worms as long as the sun and moon exist. One should therefore not even see the face of a person who blasphemes Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Never try to associate with such persons. In his Bhakti Sandarbha 265, Rupa Gosvami further quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.74.40. If one does not immediately leave upon hearing the Lord or the Lord's devotee blasphemed, he falls down from devotional service. Similarly, Lord Shiva's wife, Sati, states in Srimad Bhagavatam 4:17. If one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, he should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, he should give up his own life. So, this is an example of how severe it is to offend a pure devotee. When one offends a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, like one particular quote here was saying that whoever kills or blasphemes a Vaishnava, and whoever is envious of a Vaishnava or angry with him, or whoever does not offer him obeisance or feel joy upon seeing a Vaishnava, certainly falls into hellish conditions. And then the one down here was, such a person rots in the Kumbhi Parka hell and is bitten by worms as long as the sun and moon exist. One should therefore not even see the face of a person who blasphemes Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Never try to associate with such persons. So it's so severe, the offences that the ISKCON leaders have made to Srila Prabhupada. So severe, and the reactions are so heavy. And if we associate with them, we become a supporter. And if we are a supporter, let me find the quote and read the quote again. I request all the pure-hearted demigods, forefathers and saintly persons to support my proposal, for after death the result of an action is equally shared by its doer, its director and its supporter. So that's, we're talking about, do ISKCON devotees, do they have devotion? My God, devotion. They're gonna, what they're gonna get is such a sinful, they're gonna equally share the sinful reactions of these offenders to Prabhupada, these blasphemers. That's where they're heading. Talking about devotion, they're completely heading the opposite way. I think Prabhupada said you need a guru to go to hell also. So these are the gurus, these ISKCON leaders are the actual gurus to guide people to hell and to get their punishment there. This is the situation. So think over it. Is it worth going to ISKCON? Is it worth associating with ISKCON? What, for a little boga? You're going there for some prasadam. You're not eating prasadam, because prasadam means that the food cannot be offered directly to Vishnu, to Krishna, to Radha Krishna, to Nitai Gauranga, Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya Nityananda. It can't be offered direct. You can't offer your food directly to the Lord. You have to offer your food through the pure devotee. And when the food is offered, just like the blessings of the Lord come down through this chain of disciplic succession, so the offerings also go up through the chain of disciplic succession. So we can't offer directly to the Lord. We offer through the pure devotee, who's the transparent via medium. So if we think when we go to ISKCON we're going to take prasadam, we're not taking prasadam. That food is not offered. If there's some rascal person who's taken shelter of one of these bogus ISKCON gurus and they're offering food to him, that food is not going to be offered to Krishna. Maybe it gets offered to one of these nagas in the hellish planet. But it ain't prasadam, that's for sure. And if you're eating it, you're eating only sin. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that food, that those people, they offer sacrifice and they offer their food to the Lord, and therefore their food is free from sin. And if you don't offer your food to the Lord, then your food is actually, each mouthful that you eat is simply sin. So what type of sin? We just discussed it. You eat this boga in ISKCON and you're taking big mouthfuls of the sinful reactions of these envious demons who blaspheme Srila Prabhupada. But even if you don't go there and take prasadam, you just go see the deities. Whatever you do, if you're associating with them, you're a supporter. If you're a supporter, you share the reaction. If you share the reaction, that means you're making offences also. And that means whatever shadow attachment you have to Srila Prabhupada, whatever shadow devotion you have to Prabhupada, will be vanquished to nil. A sign of devotion to Prabhupada means, just like in my case and many other people's cases, you come to a point where you can't go on anymore in this society. You join it, you have some material ambition, and then it comes to a point you have to go one way or the other. You have to rather go with follow your original attachment to Srila Prabhupada, and you want that, you want to increase that, or you want to go on the hellish path. You want to follow your material ambition, which will take you to hell through association with these offenders. So there comes a point when one will actually have to leave the association of ISKCON for whatever little shadow devotion he originally has to grow. And if one doesn't leave, then the shadow attachment, the shadow devotion, it will vanquish and become nil, exterminated. Hare Krishna.